On matters health, two medical doctors appeared in the Johannesburg Magistrate's court today for allegedly performing botched surgeries on children resulting in fatalities. They were released on bail. Professor Peter Beale, a pediatric surgeon, and Dr. Abdullhay Munshi, an anesthetist, are accused of culpable homicide and have been suspended by the Netcare group that employed them. An investigation is to be carried out by the Health Professions Council. Its head, Dr. Kgosi Letlape, joins me now in the studio, as well as Dr. Dirk Van Zyl from the South African Society of Anaesthesiologists. I need to say that again. Anaesthesiologists. It's such a tongue twister. Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you for inviting.
Dr. Letlape, let me first start with you. The case has raised quite a number of concerns. I mean, this is not the first time these allegations have been leveled against the doctor. What is the council's opinion of what possibly went wrong?
We can't talk about what went wrong with the current matter or the case under question. The processes will define that. But what concerns us as council is public prosecutions that are not based on processes, which become extremely challenging for the practice of medicine. And it creates challenges for us as a council to do our job. Because when you have public trials like we have right now, practitioners are not prepared to participate in the processes and assist us to investigate the matters.
When you say a public trial, what do you mean? Because of the speculation that has been out there, or the fact that this is not the first time, as I say, these allegations come to the fore and are discussed? I mean, past reports suggest that the doctor himself had been suspended by another hospital group, yet he continued to work at another.
Well, we are not in charge of hospitals, and this is part of the problem. If the doctor has acted unprofessionally, even hospital groups need to report that alleged professional misconduct to the Health Professions Council to deal with. It is unbecoming for institutions to take the law unto themselves. Because remember that if there's a death in a hospital, the matter needs to be investigated as to whether it was the practitioners, whether it was the facilities, and if the practitioners, which practitioners were involved, what actually happened. It would not be fair to curtail people's careers without following due process. If any time there was a mishap and matters had to be handled by the police, it would be absolute chaos in this country. And we would ask the police to allow professional bodies to investigate professional incidents properly and effectively. And then the law will take its course if necessary.
Dr. Van Zyl, what is your sentiment around what has happened here and how we should be framing the discussion? Because we've read harrowing stories from parents of not only misdiagnosis, but it involves several young children and allegations of fatalities as a result of not only the misdiagnosis, but bad medical practice.
So, I mean, we are here for one reason on this phone call, and that is because of a tragic death of a child. And that is obviously something that is devastating for that family, and we as a society have deeper sympathy for what has happened. And we feel that and we've been saying this for many months now, that we want a speedy process of investigation to find out what actually happened, and that is actually underway. The Health Professions Council has started that investigation. On our member, the anesthesiologist in question, there's never been a report of any previous wrongdoing, misconduct, or anything ever done before by him. This is an isolated incident. He has been obviously roped into this because he's working with this specific surgeon. But be that as it may, that process is underway, but we feel very upset and worried about the fact that while there is already a process underway to determine what actually happened, and there are several processes running parallel in this, before any judgment has been made or anybody has come to a conclusion as to whether there was or wasn't negligence or even why the child died in the first place. Out of the blue, this warrant for arrest has now been issued. And that is really concerning for all of us, because when there is a tragic event such as this, and they are very, very rare, there is a process that does take place where statements are taken from everybody, expert witnesses are involved, and the Health Professions Council can then make a regulation, and they are the regulators. But independent of that, any unnatural death also comes across the desk of a magistrate, and the magistrate with two medical assessors also goes through the evidence, and they can also independently approach the prosecuting authority and recommend prosecution if there is negligence on one or several parties. And then that goes to court, and that professional person is then asked to appear via a summons, and they appear, and a due process then establishes whether this person is guilty or not.
Okay, so let's talk about due process, because I think what we would like to understand from a layman's perspective is what is the job of an anesthetist? They are there to assist a doctor. Is that the end all and be all? They put a patient under and they bring the patient back again after the procedure?
So an anesthetist, first of all, is a medical doctor. 6 years of training. He's then done his 2 years internship, his comm service. He's then specialized. He spent at least about 6 years with all these training and diplomas and specialization to get to a specialist. So this is somebody that's only by the age of 35 plus has reached a level of a specialist anesthesiologist. And he's there really to make the surgeon's job as easy as possible, to look after the patient. We look after a variety of different surgeons and different surgical techniques. And it's really there to make sure that the patient's physiology is kept normal, that the patient is rendered in a position and in a condition that is conducive for the surgery. And this particular surgery is quite high risk and requires a certain level of specialized skill to perform, both from the surgery and from the anesthesia point of view. And then his responsibility there is then to wake the patient up. And we're not going into the clinical details, but it sounds like a very rare complication took place. And this anesthesiologist was there the entire time, from the beginning till unfortunately the child passed away, trying his best to save this young boy's life. So that is the job of the anesthesiologist. And there are actually only less than 1,000 specialists in the country, spread out over an entire country. And, we're worried about the precedent that this is setting. I mean, if you're going to have a high-risk operation and there happens to be a rare complication, is this what's going to happen? Are you going to be arrested on suspicion of culpable homicide when a due process that is already underway hasn't even been completed? And just, while we're on that point, just to correct some of the inaccuracies from your introduction, Netcare doesn't employ any of these doctors. These doctors are all in independent practice. They were obviously, that facility decided not to work in there, but that also needs to be interrogated.
Okay, so Dr. Letlape, Dr. Van Zyl says that needs to be interrogated, the fact that Netcare has taken the decision not to work with them, but shouldn't that be within their purview when allegations like this are raised? And more to the point, what do parents do if there are multiple allegations against a single doctor, pediatric surgeon, about almost the same thing occurring? Where does oversight come into this?
I think the notion that there's multiple allegations when people come out of the woodworks because of a tragedy becomes unfortunate. Now,
do you doubt that
No, I do not doubt it. But when you have people now come up, when they have not come forward to lay complaints before, it becomes problematic. It does not mean those matters should not be investigated. So I'd advise those that have a story to tell to follow due process and lay formal complaints with the Health Professions Council so that they could be properly investigated. You have to understand that when you sit out there as a practitioner who has practiced medicine for more than 4 decades, who has lots of accolades, and suddenly there's one mishap, which is a serious mishap, and you have a lot of things come out of the woodworks that are unproven, we need to be careful in terms of how we take those issues forward. And, people have to understand that from where we stand, it's not just the two doctors that are on trial. It's the medical system that's on trial. And we need to ensure that we do not break up what we have built. There are strong due processes. And as Dr. Van Zyl said, when there's an anesthetic death, there will be an automatic inquest, a post-mortem is mandatory. So there are proper investigations that will be done. And we on the professional side will pursue whatever is put in front of us, but there will also something on the legal side that kicks in automatically. But those processes should be subject to proper investigation so that those that are charged with any charges should be able to account for their actions and provide explanations so that the matter can be put in front of their peers. Remember, the way our system operates, once we have a complaint, those that handle the complaints in the Health Professions Council have to make a decision as to whether the practitioner poses a threat to society. If that is the feeling of the people that prosecute, there are processes to be followed where they could ask for a suspension hearing. The doctor would then come forward, there'd be a suspension hearing, and peers would decide as to whether a suspension is warranted. That process has been completed with Prof. Beale, and he's currently suspended. That process is underway with Dr. Munshi, and we'll await the outcome of that process. But what it does is, right now, we have to delay the processes with Dr. Munshi because the panel that had been assembled on seeing this matter being in the public eye, people have pulled out. We're going to start again, look for other members of the panel so that we can do our job properly.
All right, just very briefly, Dr. Van Zyl, am I understanding you that you are saying that the arrest set a very bad precedence for the profession?
Absolutely. And I mean, Doctor, I agree completely with what Dr. Letlape is also saying. You know, this is not going to help the family get resolution. It's not going to help society decide what happened, how can we prevent this happening again. If there are any problems that can be fixed, how can we fix them? This is just, you know, I think it is a real threat to healthcare nationally because you've got young specialists now looking around, seeing what is happening here, looking at it in the whole context of what's happening to NHI. And we already lost 34 anesthesiologists in the last 3 months abroad because of various factors. And this is just going to make more of an impetus for people deciding where they want to work future.
Okay. Dr. Letlape, just very quickly, as a council, what are you then advising parents? You seem to be saying that they held back, but I'm sure there's some parents who felt that they didn't know their rights, who didn't feel that anything could be done. What confidence do you give them that as a council?
You know, we go on road shows to alert the public to the fact that if you have any legitimate complaints and any concerns, approach council, write to us, and you'll be assisted in taking the matter forward. And we can't do more than advocate for that. But I think something that needs to be said, remember that I'm a surgeon, and if I have an emergency in theater that requires resuscitation, I'm highly dependent on the adequate facilities that is being provided by the private hospital. And we need to ensure that there's adequacy of an environment so that we can take timely interventions.
Okay, thank you very much.
So it becomes problematic when hospitals, without following due process, act hastily, without reporting to council, without bringing the matters of supposed professional misconduct to the professional body. And that is extremely concerning.
Thank you very much to both of you. Dr. Kgosi Letlape, who is from the South African Health Council and including the South African Society of Anaesthesiologists, Dr. Van Zyl. Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you.